Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. And I'm going to start it off in Joel chapter 2, verse 28. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. So, first and foremost, you're going to have Israelites out here, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that are going to be seeing visions and having dreams of the prophetic times we're coming into. The times of Jacob's trouble, the great judgment that Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh is about to bring upon this planet for its wickedness, and then, the salvation of the elect of the nation of Israel. But as it also said, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. They're going to be heathens having, dreams and visions as well of the times of the end. Which brings me to this video that came in my recommends on YouTube from Haley Mastra Leonardo's YouTube channel titled Dream. I saw the destruction of New York City and San Francisco. And she looks like an Edomite or a so-called white person, but hey, she could very well be an Israelite foreigner, an Israelite that's been scattered amongst the heathens through the curses, and as through the generations of intermixing with them, has come to look like them. But their forefather goes back to one of the 12 tribes of Israel. But regardless, as it said in Joel 2 verse 28, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. And when we listen to the first 2 minutes or so of this clip, what she's going to be describing is the destruction of America by nuclear missiles. Though she doesn't say that, she's trying to speculate what it is, but that's what the prophets are for, and like I said in a previous video dealing with that Northern Tribes woman that had a dream of chaos in America, the role of a prophetess doesn't mean a woman goes out and teaches. If she has a dream or a vision, she brings it to a man of the Lord, if she has a husband, to her husband to interpret it. But regardless, let's get into this video. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hallie. If you're new here, thanks so much for watching. My channel is dedicated to preparing the bride of Christ for the second coming of Jesus. I hope you're having a great start.
And she's a Christian using the name Jesus Christ, which Jesus isn't the real name of the Son of the Most High. His true name is Yahweh, and he, just like the Heavenly Father, had the appearance of so-called dark-skinned Negroes with white woolly beards and afros. Even the angels have the appearance of dark-skinned Negroes with beards and afros as well.
To your summer, and that you're enjoying time with family and friends wherever you are. Today I'm going to share 2 dreams with you. They're very brief, but they are very similar, and I think that they are connected. And then I'll talk about a scripture that I believe corresponds with this in 1 Thessalonians. So in the recent months, I've had
I say this, as it says in I believe it's in 1 Corinthians 14. I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp the authority of a man.
Multiple dreams about the destruction of both San Francisco and New York City. The first one I ever had a couple months ago was San Francisco was just completely destroyed. It laid in ruins, and it was very upsetting, very disturbing. and sad, honestly, just to see this beautiful place I've once many times visited over the years as I'm a California native, just see it lay in waste. And I felt like I was looking at like something apocalyptic. I don't know if it was due to war or invasion or, natural disaster. I have no idea, but it looked so awful. And I was looking for a family member there, actually, and anyone else maybe that I could find that had survived. And then in a similar dream, which I've had 2 of these, and one was this week again, I saw New York City completely demolished as well. Just utter ruins and nothing but like ash and dust and buildings just crumbled to the ground.
And that's a very key thing she said. She saw nothing but ash and dust, like something had been burned completely.
Driving through the city, through the streets, just so concerned, like what happened here? And I had this sort of sense that even with San Francisco as well, that it was not going to be like fixed, that it was possibly like the end of that place, the end of that city, and that it was not going to change and that it was going to remain that way. I do believe that
That's all we need to hear, and that's exactly what's going to happen. America is going to get hit with nuclear missiles during World War III, and it's going to remain a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland. Now let's get into these precepts. This is Jeremiah chapter 51. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header reads, Babylon judged for sins against Israel. Babylon the Great, that virgin daughter of Babylon, the United States of America, which the main reason this great judgment is coming down is for what America and you Edomites that ran it did to the children of Israel. You afflicted the apple of the Most High's eye. But this is Jeremiah 51 verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind, that nuclear destruction. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land. And those fanners are the angels, that are gonna be intensifying this fire, and are working on the minds of these men, to eventually shoot those nuclear missiles onto America. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. These nations gathered round about America, Russia, China, North Korea, as well as America's own allies that are going to turn against her at some point during World War III and ally themselves with Russia and China to shoot nuclear missiles onto her. That archer that bendeth his bow to spare no arrows. Revelation 17 verse 16. The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, the 10 horns being the EU and the beast being NATO, these shall hate the whore that rides upon the beast, the virgin daughter of Babylon, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, nuclear fire. And remember what that lady said. It just seemed in my dream that things would never go back to normal or be fixed. It would just permanently be desolate. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And that wine is speaking of these different philosophies that America has exported. Democracy, capitalism, feminism, so-called equality, alphabet, lifestyles, which, these nations have taken on some of those customs, and they're seeing that it's destroyed, their communities and their families. So they're, pissed off about it, which is one of the reasons why they're going to turn against this whore and shoot those nuclear arrows. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. take balm for her pain, if so, she may be healed. Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Again, that lady said it just seemed like these cities would be permanently cast down, which is exactly what we're reading in the scriptures, but it's going to be the entirety of the United States of America. And let us go, everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted even to the skies. Now I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 18. I'm going to start at verse 1. Babylon is fallen. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. You know, those desert creatures that are going to dwell here after the fires, go out. Those nuclear fires that are burning this place up. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And when you go into that word fornication, it's G4202, porneia. What does that sound like? Porno. Illicit sexual intercourse, adultery, fornication, Moism, taco-eatism, intercourse with animals, metaphor, the worship of idols, which, America's full of adultery and fornication and Moism, which is one of those philosophies that this country pushes out. And what? A metaphor for idol worship, worshiping, these nations, following after the ways of America, drinking that wine and becoming drunk off of them. For the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And America, even though it's waning, is still the number one consumerist nation on the face of the earth. Many nations, make a lot of money exporting to America. Hence why, Trump's trade war has been very, devastating, just by how intertwined a lot of these countries are, with America's economy. Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And that's the 1/3 of the elect in America getting beamed up on the chariots, or the so-called UFOs, as the missiles are coming down to be saved from this destruction. For her sins have reached unto heaven. Hey, going back to Jeremiah 51. And the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. We would have healed Babylon, but Babylon will not be healed. Forsake her. Reward her even as she rewarded you. Hey, America was gotten by these Edomites with great robbery and murder and much death. This place was birthed in violence, and it's going to die in violence. And double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled, fill to her double. And you Edomites that survived the destruction, outside of America, and then all you Edomites that are going to be destroyed in America, you're going to be reborn into the kingdom of heaven, straight into slavery. And you're going to receive a double portion of slavery as to what the children of Israel received. Verse 7, how much she hath glorified herself. Hey, that American exceptionalism, as they call it. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. Hey, that American spirit of we're never going to go down. These are the colors that never run. And, one of the heaviest quotes I ever heard that, perfectly lines up with this is during World War II with the battle, after the Battle of Iwo Jima, when you had those Marines raise up that flag, you had a Marine commander say, after they took that famous picture, that this picture is going to guarantee that the Marine Corps lasts for another 250 to 500 years. Just complete pride, like this place or its institutions would never be touched. But hey, according to biblical prophecy, that is not the case at all, and these things are very near. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, and Babylon is going to be destroyed within 1 hour, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. And remember what that Edomite looking lady, because she could be an Israelite, said. I just remember everything looking like ash and dust and destruction, like something had been burned, because that's exactly how America is ultimately going out. Verse 9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. And the only reason these nations, which already hate America, are going to be upset when she goes down is because they're not going to be making all that money, all those shekels off of her anymore. Verse 10, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, America, that golden cup, which, what was America described as at one time? The city whose streets were paved with gold. That great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And, you're hearing all this talk in the news of what? World War III and, the West versus the East, with, the U.S. and U.S. and Western Europe versus Russia, and Russia constantly making nuclear threats. Well, hey, those threats are going to become actions, and Russia is going to be the main nation leading this nuclear destruction against America. Which brings me to my last precepts in Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 17. Babylon will fall to the Medes. And this isn't talking about the ancient Medes who were Japhetic. This is talking about the spiritual Medes, the Russians, who are dwelling, in the lands now that, the Japhites used to inhabit. Behold, I will stir up the Medes, the Russians, against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So when the time comes for them to turn those keys and shoot those nukes, peace talks, FRNs, literal gold and silver, cryptocurrency, nothing is going to change their minds from doing so, because it's the ultimate will of the Lord. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. Going back to that Jeremiah 51, the archer that bendeth his bow to slay utterly the young men. And those bows are symbolic for the launchers and, silos that those nuclear arrows are going to be fired from. Because, when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a missile, a hypersonic missile or anything like that was. So they had to describe it with the weapons of their times. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. Those nuclear missiles are going to be the ultimate form of equality. They're not going to discriminate against man, woman, child, young, old, or whatever race you are. The only people that are going to make it out, like I said earlier, are going to be the 1/3 of the elect in America. As for everybody else, you're just going to be fuel for the fire. Verse 19, and Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And another name for America in the scriptures is spiritual Sodom, as pursuant to Revelation, 11 verse 8. And we just so happen to be in the month of June, which is what? Pride Month, celebrating that alphabet lifestyle. And ancient Sodom and Gomorrah, for its lewd and disgusting practices, was destroyed with fire and brimstone from the sky. So this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, which is practicing the very same acts and even worse, is going to be destroyed by that modern fire and brimstone. 200 million nuclear missiles, which are going to turn this place into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards, as it's about to say. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. So man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place again after it's hit with those nukes. And this goes to show that it isn't talking about ancient Babylon, which is in modern day Iraq, because you've got people there, going about their daily lives as we speak. Verse 21, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. Going back to Revelation 18, it would just become a cage for every foul and hateful bird. These harsh desert creatures that are going to dwell here after the fires subside. Verse 22, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And with that woman having dreams like that, and just what we're seeing in the news with current events, hey, Babylon's time and end is very near to come. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.